The air crackled with anticipation. A sea of red hats stretched across the National Mall. Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, stepped to the podium. He was there to deliver a pre-inauguration address, a message to a nation yearning for change. Trump, with his characteristic confidence, painted a picture of a nation on the cusp of a new era, an era of American strength, prosperity, and unwavering resolve. This was not just a speech, it was a declaration, a promise to restore America to its former glory. Trump's words resonated with millions who felt left behind, forgotten by the political establishment. He tapped into a wellspring of frustration and ignited a fire of hope, a hope for a brighter future, a future where America would once again be great. His words, delivered with his trademark bluntness and charisma, sent shockwaves through the political landscape. The world watched, holding its breath as a new era began. Trump wasted no time in addressing the elephant in the room, his improbable come-from-behind victory. He didn't just win, he insisted, he won big. He painted a picture of a landslide victory, a resounding mandate from the American people. His claims were bold. He spoke of flipping 7 swing states, turning them red with the sheer force of his movement. Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Florida all fell into his column, defying the pollsters and pundits. These weren't just narrow victories, according to Trump. They were historic margins. He claimed to have shattered expectations, drawing in demographics that had traditionally voted Democrat. The American people had spoken, and they had chosen him to lead them to a brighter future. With the political landscape firmly established, Trump turned his attention to the economy. He painted a bleak picture of the status quo, a nation struggling under the weight of globalization and bad trade deals. He spoke of shuttered factories, lost jobs, and a sense of economic anxiety gripping the heartland. But amidst this darkness, he offered a glimmer of hope, his economic plan. Trump's economic vision was simple: make America great again. He promised to bring back jobs, boost wages, and restore America's manufacturing might. He spoke of renegotiating trade deals, slashing regulations, and unleashing the power of American industry. The stock market, he claimed, had already responded to his victory with unprecedented gains. These weren't just promises, Trump insisted, they were done deals, proof that his America First agenda was already bearing fruit. His promises of prosperity and economic nationalism struck a chord, offering a glimmer of hope in uncertain times. From the podium, Trump pivoted to the global stage. He laid out his vision for American foreign policy, a vision guided by a single, unwavering principle: America First. Gone were the days of multilateralism, of entangling alliances and nation-building abroad. Trump promised a new era of American strength, an era where the United States would no longer be taken advantage of. He spoke of a world in chaos, a world plagued by terrorism and rogue regimes. He criticized the previous administration's handling of foreign policy, pointing to the rise of ISIS, the Iran nuclear deal, and the ongoing conflict in Syria. Trump promised a different approach, an approach based on strength, resolve, and an unwavering commitment to American interests. He touted his deal-making skills, claiming to have already achieved what others had deemed impossible. He boasted of a ceasefire agreement in the Middle East, a deal that had eluded diplomats for decades. Trump's foreign policy pronouncements were met with a mix of skepticism and cautious optimism. Section 5, Securing the Homeland, a hard line on immigration. Trump's rhetoric turned inward as he addressed the issue of immigration. He painted a picture of a nation under siege, its borders porous and its citizens at risk from the scourge of illegal immigration. He spoke of dangerous criminals, gang members, and drug traffickers pouring across the border, threatening the safety and security of law-abiding Americans. He railed against the existing immigration system, calling it broken and ineffective. He vowed to build a wall along the southern border, a physical barrier to stem the tide of illegal crossings. He promised to deport millions of undocumented immigrants, focusing on those with criminal records. He stoked fears of terrorism, suggesting that LAX border security made America vulnerable to attack. Trump's hardline stance on immigration resonated with his base, many of whom shared his concerns about border security. Section 6, Restoring Order, Domestic Policy, and Executive Action. With a firm hand on the tiller of foreign policy and immigration, Trump steered his pre-inauguration address toward the domestic front. He promised to restore order, to roll back what he saw as government overreach, and to uphold traditional values. He spoke of a nation divided, a nation where political correctness had stifled free speech and where identity politics had sown discord. He signaled his intention to use the power of the presidency to enact his agenda, promising a flurry of executive orders on his first day in office. He vowed to tackle a range of issues, from transgender athletes in sports to diversity, equity, and inclusion mandates in government and education. He spoke of restoring law and order, promising to crack down on crime in America's cities. He vowed to support law enforcement and to take a tough stance on drugs and gang violence. Trump's domestic policy pronouncements were a mix of populist appeals, conservative ideology, and authoritarian impulses. His supporters cheered his promises to shake up the status quo. Section 7. A team of patriots' key cabinet appointments. As he transitioned to the final act of his pre-inauguration address, Trump seized the opportunity to introduce the team he had assembled to help him make America great again. These weren't just appointments, he insisted. They were a who's who of patriots, of the best and brightest minds in the country, all united behind his vision. He rattled off a list of names. Each one met with cheers from the crowd. Pete Hegseth, a Fox News commentator and military veteran, was tapped for a prominent role. Tulsi Gabbard, a Democratic congresswoman and Iraq War veteran, was another surprising choice. Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General of Florida, was a loyal ally. Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey, was a seasoned political operator. Marco Rubio, a Florida senator and one-time rival for the Republican nomination, was offered a position. These appointments, Trump declared, were just the beginning. Section 8. A movement ignited campaigning and gratitude for supporters. With his cabinet taking shape, Trump shifted his focus to those who had made his improbable journey to the White House possible: his supporters. He spoke of a movement, a groundswell of support that had defied the odds and propelled him to victory. He thanked the millions who had attended his rallies, who had donated to his campaign, who had believed in his message of change. He reminisced about his time on the campaign trail, sharing anecdotes from his travels across the country. He spoke of the energy of the crowds, the passion of his supporters, the feeling of unity that pervaded his rallies. He praised his campaign staff, his volunteers, his family, all of whom had sacrificed so much to help him achieve his dream. He spoke of his son's involvement in the campaign, his dedication and hard work. Trump's words were met with thunderous applause. His supporters, many of whom had traveled long distances to witness this historic moment, felt seen, heard, and validated. Section 9. Rebuilding America: Infrastructure and Patriotic Themes. As his pre-inauguration address drew to a close, Trump returned to a central theme: rebuilding America. He spoke of a nation in need of repair, its infrastructure crumbling, its spirit waning. He promised to invest in roads, bridges, airports, and tunnels, creating jobs and revitalizing the economy. He spoke of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and its crucial role in disaster relief. He even looked ahead to the future, mentioning the 2028 Olympic Games set to be held in Los Angeles. He saw it as an opportunity to showcase America's renewed strength and vitality. Throughout his speech, Trump wove in patriotic themes, invoking the Founding Fathers, the Constitution, and the American dream. He called for unity, urging Americans to put aside their differences and come together as one nation. His pre-inauguration address was a promise, a threat, and a call to arms, all rolled into one.